Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 656, 656, January the 8th, 2019, Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get to it. Well, it appears that Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg was a no-show for the opening of oral arguments at the Supreme Court yesterday. The media is claiming, without any evidence of course, that she's fine, that Buzzi Ginsburg is of sound mind and doing well. Fact is, she's not even in Washington. My guess is she's probably currently being filled with some sort of preservatives like, I don't know, MSG or formaldehyde or something. God knows what they're stuffing her with right now. They'll probably stuff her like a bird, wheel her in, put her at the table. It won't matter anyway because every picture I see of her, she looks dead every time I see her. Who'd know? You just have Sotomayor sit next to her and reach over and have her lift up her arm whenever she has to cast a vote. But I'm sure that they're doing whatever they can right now to prop her corpse up, wherever she may be, to make sure that she stays on the court until Trump is gone. That could be a very long time. I don't think she's going to make it. I don't know what kind of preservatives they have, what they have going on there, and the medical sciences that they could possibly keep her alive, prop her eyes open. Of course, they're usually closed anyway because she sleeps about 19 hours a day. And she chooses most of the time to sleep when she's in front of a TV camera, it appears. Because every time I see her, that's what it's like. But anyway, if you know the whereabouts of Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg, maybe she'll pop up on a milk carton or something. But apparently, this is the first time since she's been on the court 25 years. First time that she wasn't there for opening oral arguments. So she's MIA. Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg. If you know where she's at, you might want to give someone a call because she's missing. And, of course, that, kind of helps us, right? It's one less liberal vote. But the fact of the matter is the woman needs to step down from the Supreme Court. She's just not all there anymore. And, to just try to occupy a spot on the court so that Trump can't reappoint someone, that's very self-serving, and it's not the way the system is supposed to work, quite honestly. And she's not going to outlive Trump's presidencies because he's likely going to be reelected if, in fact, he's not, destroyed by the deep state. And he will be if he doesn't start executing some offense. But let's assume at some point he executes some offense, or maybe Mr. Barr comes in and fires Rodenstein and actually does a real investigation of the real crimes committed by the real perpetrators in the deep state coup. But, Trump's likely, most presidents, if they have a good economy, they get reelected almost all the time. And assuming we don't run into some bumpy roads in the economy, but right now, looking 2 years out, if things continue as they are, we have a really strong economy, Trump's going to get reelected. Who's going to beat him? What Democrat's going to beat Trump? The rotten Reverend Clinton? That's going to be the rematch, most likely, unless she keels over. So how much longer are they going to prop up Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg? I've got a stuffed fish. I caught a crappie when I was about, 11 or 12 years old in a farm pond. It was the largest crappie caught in the state of Ohio that year. And they actually stuffed it for me for free and took my picture. I was in the newspaper. And it's still stuffed. Its eyes are wide open. It's mounted up there on the wall. Still looks pretty good to me. 7 3/4 pound crappie. Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg probably weighs about 7 3/4 pounds. The last time I saw her, she looks like a little stick woman. But I know she likes to drink a lot of wine, so who knows what kind of weight she's gained there. But regardless, Ruth Buzzi Ginsburg is MIA. If anybody knows where she's at, you might want to give somebody a call, because she didn't show up to court today. First time in 25 years. So I don't know. Like I say, they're probably stuffing her with something, or who knows what they're doing. To try to keep her in service for another God knows how many years. I just don't think it's going to fly. I don't think she's going to last. I don't think they can, prop her corpse up any longer. She's not going to make it till 2020, I don't think. I think it's very likely Trump will be picking another Supreme Court justice before 2020. Trump will be addressing the nation this evening at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the border and the humanitarian crisis. Very good move. Very, very good move. And then Thursday, he's going on down to the border. And I don't mean Taco Bell or Taco Casa or wherever the hell that is. No, he's heading down to the border of Mexico. And we already have some corporate media outlets saying they may not cover it. They may not cover the president's speech to the nation. Why? Because I know a lot of people who have been misinformed and lied to by Democrats and the corporate media don't want them to hear the case that Trump is going to make, which any reasonable person is going to say, wow, I didn't know things were that bad. That is an emergency. That is a crisis. We do need to fix it. We do need a wall or some kind of barrier. We do need to secure the border. So these fake news media outlets that say, well, we may not cover the president's speech, that would be fairly historic. It'd be the first time I could ever remember that the corporate media outlets didn't cover a presidential address to the nation. That would be a first for me, and I think it would backfire so badly on them that I don't think they'll actually go through with it. I think even they are smart enough to know that would backfire miserably. Plus, there's something, I don't know if it's a law or something in there, that they have an obligation to do that. They have an obligation to do that. And it's been there for many, many, many years, probably since television first came about. So they have an obligation to do that. Not doing that may endanger their broadcast license. I don't really know. They certainly may lose their news broadcast license. They may have to get relicensed as an entertainment network. Actually, I think they should create a new broadcast license called a propaganda license. And that's what most of these so-called news organizations, that's the type of license most of them should have anyway. Because essentially they're nothing more, most of these media outlets are nothing more than a public relations firm for the Democratic Party. They're not news. I know what news is. They're not doing news. So we'll see. I don't think they'll follow through with it. I think they'll all carry the president's address. And then as soon as it's over, they'll bring on all the liberal pundits to try to counteract what he just said. But probably it'll be too late, because by then, the majority of people will have tuned in, watched the president. He'll make a very good case. I think it's going to be a winning move, and it's going to push the needle probably so far in his direction that the Democrats will have to make a move. But they're pretty stupid. We'll have to watch. I wouldn't bet on that at all, actually. They should make a move if they have any sense in their head, but they don't. We'll get back to something related to that in a little while. Let's see. The next thing up on the agenda is that Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows have sent a letter. They sent a letter on Monday to John Huber. And they want to know three things specifically. They want to know what witnesses he has interviewed, the number of documents he has reviewed, and the number of FISA warrants he has examined. Now, if you remember, before the midterms, he was supposed to come and testify, but he didn't show up. And then we found out a couple days later, after that after stiffing the Congress, it's because someone, I guess, who's at the DOJ, did not schedule him. They did not schedule him. Then you have a lot of people who chime in and say, well, he can't really come and talk about it because it's an investigation, and they don't talk about investigations and things and such like that. Well, no, they don't really talk about investigations and things and such like that unless they're called to Congress and they're asked some questions about their investigation, which is not so much looking for specifics, into where they're going with an investigation or anything like that, but just information about whether or not A, an investigation actually does exist, and if so, what is the status of the investigation at this point? And that's all Jordan Meadows want to know. They just want to know. I mean, is there really an investigation or not? Because if there is, then we're good. If there's not, then we need to have one. But you can't have this sort of middle of the road. It looks like there's an investigation. We're told there's an investigation. But quite honestly, when Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan have been working on this, they've interviewed a lot of witnesses themselves, including whistleblowers, 3 whistleblowers. And these whistleblowers say they've never been contacted by Huber. We haven't seen any indictments. We don't know if he's even got a grand jury convened. We don't know any of these things. It's a little too secret. It's been going on for a little bit too long not to have something. I mean, Uncle Bob, he's been at it for, what, a year and a half, and he's indicted 32 people. And we hear about his investigation every day. Totally public. And I think that's all Meadows and Jordan are saying is, hey, you know, this investigation into the government is something we should definitely know about. If it's happening, we need to know about it. An investigation to the DOJ, the FBI, these are not private citizens. These are not, you know, civil trials, criminal trials. These are not secret investigations going on or whatever. This is the government. This is the government. We should know if there in fact is an investigation going on, and if so, what the status is of that. So we'll see if Huber responds or how he responds. I wouldn't bet a single penny on him responding to anything. But we know that, according to a newspaper story, an AP story, just about a week ago, it was leaked, I guess you'd say, that Whitaker had breakfast with former Attorney General under Reagan, Ed Meese. And he apparently told Ed Meese that Huber is doing some kind of an investigation. I don't know. Maybe Whitaker believes there is an investigation going on, but maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just saying what he heard. Because we've all heard that Huber is doing an investigation. But it'd be interesting to know, if he is, what the details are. Because Meese didn't give any details, although he says that Whitaker did give him some details. So I'd certainly like to know what's going on. So would Jordan and Meadows. A lot of other people. We should certainly know if there's an investigation into the FBI and the DOJ. We should know that. And we should know the status of it. That should be something that we should be learning about and kept abreast of. Democrats are planning to block every bill. This is a new strategy, I understand, the Democrats are working on, is to block any bill brought to McConnell until the government shutdown is over. So I guess they're saying any bill that makes it to the Senate that McConnell brings up, any bill that could be voted on, and I think there's some sort of a bill that's to provide some security money assistance to Israel, and he's getting ready to bring that bill up. And I guess what they're saying is that they're not going to vote for any bill that McConnell brings up until the government shutdown is over, and the only bill that they're going to bring up out of the House is the bill they've got, which doesn't include any border wall funding. It's this one bill with no funding for the border wall, and that is the bill, and until that bill gets taken up by McConnell or voted on by McConnell, they are going to block any legislation coming through the Congress. This is their next move. It's a very stupid move politically. I find it very hard to believe that they're going to be able to try to pull this one off. I don't know what they're thinking, but Pelosi must be senile. Schumer is completely batshit crazy. Maybe they feel so good about how their base is going to respond in 2020 that they believe they can get away with this. Maybe they believe that's the elixir for defeating Trump. Everything else has failed. Maybe they think that that's the way to go. But, I mean, it's just... we are living in extraordinary times. I've seen a lot of things through a lot of Congresses, a lot of administrations. I remember the Reagan years. I remember the Clinton years. And those were volatile times. A lot of hatred between Republicans and Democrats during the Reagan and Clinton years. But never saw anything like this at all. Never saw anything like this ever. And we've had some corrupt Congresses, man. I mean to tell you. We have had some corrupt Congresses. I've never seen anything quite like this. So, the thing is they won't vote on any bill, anything about the wall. And the only bill that they want to put forward, the only bill that until this bill that they're putting forward that doesn't have any wall funding this is the only bill. I mean, it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And of course, now they're talking about the money for the wall. The wall is immoral. The wall is immoral. How in the hell is a wall immoral? How in the world is a wall immoral? All these elitist people have walls surrounding their properties. We have countries all over the world that have walls. We use walls everywhere. Look around you. There's walls. There's walls all over my damn neighborhood. But apparently they think that walls are immoral. Now, fences and also walls are also racist. Yes, that's right. Walls are racist and immoral. But now fences are perfectly great. Fences are fantastic. Well, now Trump's changed his tune. And now I say, okay, well, we don't have to have a concrete wall. In fact, I'm told that a steel barrier fence is even better. So, hey, let's do a steel fence. The Democrats like fences. Let's do fences. Because they've come out and said that walls are racist and immoral, but fences are perfectly all right. Pure semantics. A fence or a wall. What the... There's no difference. They both provide the exact same thing. Security. They keep people from getting in or getting out. So, who knows? It's just lunacy. It's complete lunacy. I've never seen anything even close to this. And I don't know how it looks to other people. I know how it looks to me. And I have to think a lot of people see things in a similar way that I do. And I have to think that there's enough reasonable, rational, intelligent people in the country who have to be looking at this and going, what's the difference? He wants to build a concrete wall or a steel fence. Who cares? They're both designed to do the same thing, to stop the illegals from coming across the border, along with drugs and guns, probably sent there by Eric Holder, child trafficking, all these things coming across the border. You don't know what's coming and going. Anything that will secure the border. Doesn't matter. Fence, wall, I don't know. A 20 million man army. I mean, a moat, which is my favorite idea. A moat. I would like a moat. I would like a canal, a moat with stock it with, like, as I said, piranhas, put sharks in there, alligators, anything. Whatever. But anyway, walls are racist and immoral. Fences are perfectly all right. So I guess Trump will now be pushing a steel fence. Fine with me. Sounds good to me. I've seen it. It's a 55-foot tall fence with, like, spikes on top. I think that'd be perfectly fine. Good. I hear people say, oh, yeah, but they'll just go get ladders. Yeah. I use a lot of ladders at work, and 55-foot extension ladders, they're pretty big and heavy. Who's going to tote 55-foot extension ladders? And once you get over the top, then you got to get down the other side. What are they going to do, rappel? Bring rope? Maybe. But it doesn't seem very likely. Then I've heard people say, yeah, but, they can just, if it's steel, they'll just bring a torch and cut through it. Yeah, I guess they could, but I guess, torches require some sort of gas for the most part, because the little handheld ones you buy in the store are not going to work. You need something much, that burns much hotter than that, and you're going to need plenty of gas, because you burn through gas pretty quickly on a torch. So I don't know, maybe they're going to haul a 75-pound tank of argon a couple hundred miles to the fence, to the border with them, and break out their welding mask and start cutting holes in the fence, I guess. I don't know. This is all insanity, my friends. But I'm pretty sure that whether he puts up a concrete wall or a steel fence or what he puts up, it'll keep out probably 95%. And that's a good number for me. It's all just insanity. Doesn't even make any common sense, and it's turned into a battle of semantics and wordplay, and it's just sickening. Absolutely sickening, and I certainly hope that people are seeing it for what it is. OcasioCortez, old Marty Feldman-ized Cortez, is mad that PolitiFact has gigged her 6 times. She says, it's not fair. And she also says, hey, I say true things all the time. My friends, they haven't even completed their first full week yet. Not even one full week. We get Ocasio-Cortez for another 2 years. Can you possibly imagine the fun we're going to have? Oh my goodness, and she's got 94 other Democrats who follow her like she's their new leader. Talk about the blind leading the blind. and Nancy Pelosi has somehow got to manage this circus. Oh my God. I'm telling you, the next 2 years are going to be a freak show, man. An absolute freak show. And the spotlight is on the freaks. It really is. Well, it appears that there's been another young black gay escort. Young black gay escort found dead at the West Hollywood home of Democratic donor, political activist, and close friend of the Rotten Reverend Clinton, Ed Buck. We covered this last story. It was about, a year ago? That they found a black gay escort in his home, dead. Well, now they found a second. Now, I'm sure that this happens all the time. Probably just fairly routine. Occasionally, you find a dead black gay escort in your house. About once a year, I find a gay black dead escort in my house. It just, it happens. No big deal. Good friend of the Rotten Reverend Clinton, of course. There's a nice photo of her with him, and he's wearing a rainbow tie. Little rainbow tie. He looks like a perv. Of course, he's standing next to the Rotten Reverend Clinton. This should make sense. Have you ever wondered why everyone seemingly associated with the Rotten Reverend Clinton is a perv? Her husband, and of course, who introduced Huma to Anthony Weiner? The Clintons. And how about one of her best friends, Harvey Weinstein? Another big friend of hers, her good buddy Kevin Spacey, and all the other Hollywood left-wing lunatics and child molesters. Just about everybody connected to the Rotten Reverend Clinton is some kind of pervert. And it's been pretty widely reported, I guess, because of, if you remember, many years ago, there was one of the many women who had sexual or affairs with President Clinton. This one woman, her name was Dolly something. She was like a Miss Texas or something. She had asked Bill Clinton one time when he came over to her house. She said, what does Hillary think about all this? And he basically told her, he said, well, Hillary doesn't care. She's freaking gay. She's a carpet muncher. She is a carpet muncher. And so, she obviously doesn't care. So obviously, my dad used to always say, birds of a feather flock together. So if everyone that the Rotten Reverend Clinton knows, apparently, is some kind of freakazoid, child molesting pervert, then she's probably some sort of a pervert. So, there you go. Hillary's good friend, Ed Buck, the second time a young black gay escort has been found dead in his home. How does that happen? How does that happen? Then, the Rotten Reverend Clinton is giving a speech promoting late-term abortion. Late-term abortion. She's giving a speech promoting late-term abortion the other day, and she goes into this bit about some poll about the women's likability factor for succeeding in politics, and she says that that there's a lot of talk about whether our country is ready for women leaders. Really? There's a lot of talk in our country about whether or not our country is ready for women leaders. I don't think there's any talk in our country about whether or not we're ready for women leaders. There have been women leaders in America since day one. Before day one, before we were in a country. Look around. We have plenty of women leaders in the Congress. We have plenty of women leaders in state governments all across the country. In high positions in government around the country. We have women CEOs. We have, women in every position you could be in. powerful women all over the country. They're everywhere. On the Supreme Court, they're everywhere. I don't know anybody asking the question or talking about whether or not our country is ready for women leaders. Got tons of women leaders all across the country. And she says, and that really takes me back, as if she was deprived of the presidency because she's a woman. It wasn't because she's a woman, and she should know that. She was deprived of the presidency because she's a corrupt, cheating, lying, stealing politician who has a very high unfavorability factor and always has, even when she was First Lady. She was able to carpetbag that New York Senate seat on the coattails of her husband and a lot of money. And she just has no political talent whatsoever. She called half the country deplorable. She didn't campaign in Wisconsin. She took 2 weeks off to practice for the debates. She couldn't give a speech without coughing up some sort of green stuff in she couldn't get to a speech. She couldn't bring more than 100 people who actually were bussed. They couldn't even bus enough people into a high school gymnasium for her to give a speech to. She showed up most of the time an hour, 2 hours late for her speeches, gave a 15 or 20 minute speech, coughed her way through it. She's horrible. She's the worst damn candidate I've ever seen that made it to either the caucus was pretty bad. The caucus was pretty bad, but I think Hillary was worse than Dukakis. At least Dukakis was healthy. No, Hillary was horrible. She has less political skill than the loaf that my dog pinched about an hour ago out in the backyard. Less political skill than the loaf my dog pinched an hour ago, which is in the backyard. I'll have to scoop it up on Saturday morning. And so Hillary got scooped up like my dog's handiwork, because that's the level of political skill she brings to the table. None. And she stinks. Worse than my dog's stuff. And nobody likes her. There's a lot of reasons. Had nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. Had to do with the fact that she sucks. I did an entire video, didn't I? On why Hillary lost. I went down a laundry list of all the reasons why the rotten Reverend Clinton lost. Trump, of course, a couple great tweets today saying that the media is a bunch of crazed lunatics who have given up on truth. We have Ted Cruz, who's introduced a bill for term limits. I'm sure that'll get a lot of support. We have Kim.com, haven't heard from him in a while. He's saying that the deep state will be exposed with new rounds of leaks. You know, I like Kim.com and a lot of people I like, but I'm really getting tired of predictions. I'm really getting tired of people going on YouTube or social media saying, uh-oh, guess what's coming? It's coming. You know what? I wish they'd shut up until they got something. When you got something, put it out. Until then, shut up. Who is going after Bernie? As you know, in the past 2 weeks or so, Bernie has been getting hammered. They've been dragging him on to all the corrupt left-wing media, corporate media, trying to get him to explain about the sexual discrimination and sexual things that were going on in his campaign by his campaign staff. He claims he knew nothing about it. Some people are saying he did know about it because it was brought to the attention of the people at the highest levels of the campaign. But he said he knew nothing about it. He was busy out on the campaign trail making the case for $15 an hour. $15 an hour. For the rich, the billionaires. Yes, he's concerned about the billionaires. You know, Bernie's got 3 houses in a European sports sedan that he's now driving since he lost to the rotten Reverend Clinton and kissed her twat. We know what went down there, I think. So why now? Why after all this time? I mean, they've had plenty of time. The news media didn't seem to care about it before when they were helping the rotten Reverend Clinton and her skullduggery to destroy his campaign. All this time has passed, almost 2 years, and now suddenly Bernie is the target in his campaign? Who is exactly, what the hell's going on here? Well, obviously, somebody's trying to sabotage Bernie before he can get out of the gate. Because they don't want him to throw a wrench in the spokes, because they know he's more popular. He's still the most popular Democrat. You run anyone else up against him, Biden, Warren, any of these people, any of them, look at the list. Run any of them against Bernie, Bernie wins. And they can't stand it. So they've decided, someone has decided, we got to stop him. Now, who's behind this type of a media smear? I'll tell you exactly who it is. The same guy who was behind a lot of the media smears for the rotten Reverend Clinton back in 2015. That would be David Brock. David Brock, he's the guy that's behind this. And we know who's paying him, the rotten Reverend and Mr. Soros. I'm pretty sure the rotten Reverend Clinton picked up the phone and called Brock and said, okay, Dave, as you know, I'm getting ready to drop the bomb and run again. At the last minute, when everyone else has beat each other up around the money, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and I'm going to steal the Democratic nomination at the very end. What do you think about that, Dave? He's probably like, great, Hillary, great. More money for me. You should go, that's right. But first, we got to take care of a little problem. The same problem I had in 2016 that really screwed me up. We got to take care of that problem now. We got to we cheated Bernie, and we did a good job of cheating Bernie and taking him out, but it also caused a lot of problems. So we don't want to wait. We already know if I run against him again, it'll be hard to cheat him again because, everybody will be looking out for it because I cheated him last time. So we got to take him out of the game now. So my guess is it's the rotten Reverend Clinton who, using David Brock, is targeting Bernie now to make sure that he's out of the game so he doesn't beat her again or scare the hell out of her again. He probably would have beat her. Now, she did win a lot of the states in the South. He doesn't do very well in the South. But, he had enough electoral votes that had they not cheated him out of California, that probably would have came down to the convention. He would have had enough delegates at the convention to have a floor vote. And do you remember that? You remember the Democratic primary in California? They literally announced that the rotten Reverend Clinton had won California the night before. I'm sitting here, and keep in mind, they're 3 or 4 hours behind in California, 3 hours behind or something. It's about 10 o'clock at night. I'm sitting here the night before the Democratic primary in California, and they start literally publicly announcing that the rotten Reverend Clinton had won California. About 10 o'clock p.m. here, Ohio time, which would have meant about 7 o'clock p.m. California time, the day before. The evening before the day of the Democratic primary, they'd already announced the rotten Reverend Clinton won. So all the Bernie Sanders supporters probably thought, oh well, why vote? Hillary won. Because he probably was going to win California. So yes, that's the answer to the question. Who is it who is behind this deal going after Bernie? I guarantee you, the rotten Reverend Clinton using David Brock. It's the same old crowd, the same team, getting the old team back together. Oh yes, the rotten Reverend Clinton, she's going to break out the Scooby van with Dr. Feelgood. No, he died. She'll find another Dr. Feelgood with an EpiPen and a needle. She'll roll out her old collection of Chairman Mao poop-stained pantsuits, and it'll all have a good old time. And maybe she won't faint, pass out, cough her lungs out, or forget to campaign in Wisconsin next time. I guess we'll find out later. Kevin Spacey has pled not guilty. I thought they had a tape. We'll find out how that works out for Kevin Spacey, another good friend of the rotten Reverend Clinton. Of course, he's being charged with some sort of sexual crime against a minor male. An illegal alien today killed a 22-year-old in a head-on collision. And there's a new poll out in France by France 24 showing that 80% of French voters reject globalism. We're going the right direction, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. Guys, have a good night. See you. Bye.